Chapter 468 to 469. Cheap huh? Looking at Danzo's doubtful face, Fujin suddenly felt that his and Shimura Danzo's concept of money seemed to be on a completely different channel. 170 million ryo may not be a very huge amount, but it's not cheap either. After a secret cry inside, Fujin immediately cursed. Damn it! What is up with this geezer's concept of money? Does he have a personal bank or something? Fujin obviously has a reason to be angry at Danzo, after all. The price of 170 million for the Chimera Jutsu was spoken after long and careful consideration. It must not be forgotten that even Tsunade Haim only asked Kuroto to pay 85 million ryo debt in exchange to take Yui as her disciple. In other words, the huge sum of 85 million is almost equivalent to being a Sannin's disciple, which brings a lot of benefits, a whole lot of benefits. From learning all sorts of ninjutsu to the special social status of a Sannin's disciple. If calculated in reference to the bounty of Sarutobi Asuma, one of the elite jonin of Konoha, a former member of the Guardian 12 Shinobi, and the next heir to the position of the patriarch of the Sarutobi clan, was only 35 million ryo in the canon. Even Shirsue's current bounty is only 50 million ryo, and that is when his strength has already surpassed the level of a Kage. Not to mention that even the bounty on the head of Hyuga Patriarch is only 100 million, which is equivalent to getting one's hands on the Byakugan and its secrets. Therefore, 170 million ryo, which is double what Tsunade Haim asked, 70 million ryo more than the bounty on the head of Hyuga Patriarch, can be considered a good sum of money for just a scroll of Chimera Jutsu. In fact, Fujin was even thinking that his price is a bit unreasonable and Shimura Danzo might not agree to it, but the opposite party is saying, cheap. So obviously, Fujin can't help but be surprised. Bang! At this time, Danzo banged his crutch on the ground and said in a deep voice, as long as the scroll of Chimera Jutsu in your hand is genuine, money is not a problem for me. Had it not been for maintaining the majesty and mystery of Amatsukami, Fujin really wanted to change the price to 1 billion ryo on the spot and make a new offer. But the price has already been said. At this time, if Fujin were to change his words, Danzo would definitely look down on Amatsukami. So Fujin suppressed the anger in his heart and said with a smile, if Shimura-san feels doubtful, he can take a look at the scroll of Chimera Jutsu first and then pay the price. After that, Fujin took out the pre-prepared storage scroll from the inside of his cloak and threw it toward Shimura Danzo. He isn't really worried that Shimura Danzo would dare to betray by not paying the price. After all, 170 million ryo is cheap for the other party. So obviously for just a small sum of money, he wouldn't want enmity of Amatsukami, right? Because the consequences of enmity from both Akatsuki and Amatsukami can be too terrible. Before the scroll could reach Shimura Danzo, one of the umbu standing on the side appeared in between and caught the scroll. After checking the scroll completely and making sure that it wasn't rigged with any booby trap, he respectfully passed it to Shimura Danzo. Worried that it would be a trap? Don't worry, Shimura Danzo, you are useful to this one. So obviously this one wouldn't kill you so early, thought Fujin as he watched Danzo taking the scroll from the hands of the root umbu. As soon as the scroll of Chimera Jutsu appeared in the hands of Shimura Danzo, a rare expression of excitement appeared on his face. With the crutch still in his hands, he unfolded the scroll and checked the content sealed inside it. Shimura Danzo seems to have really desired Chimera Jutsu much more than this one expected, thought Fujin as he looked at the rare look of excitement on the face of Shimura Danzo, and Fujin really felt that maybe he should have asked for a higher price. In Fujin's view, Chimera Jutsu does have the ability to swallow Kekkai Genkai, but it is not without its hidden dangers that decrease the success rate. Shimura Danzo may not be a researcher unlike Orochimaru and Fujin. He has been immersed in the field of forbidden arts for a very long time, therefore, in Fujin's understanding, he should be able to see some risks of Chimera Jutsu. However, it turns out that Fujin has underestimated Danzo's greed for Chimera Jutsu, or to be more precise, Danzo's ambitions, but it's not a bad thing for Fujin's plan. Good, the more ambitious you are, the easier it would be for this one to control you. On the other side, after taking a closer look at the contents of the scroll of Chimera Jutsu, and then at the Chimera Bud, Shimura Danzo suppressed the joy in his head and looked at the person standing not far away. Orochimaru, see if this scroll is genuine. Orochimaru, who has been observing everything silently, with a curious look, took the scroll from Shimura Danzo's hands and took a closer look. He soon found out that the contents of this scroll are much more detailed and more in-depth than the scroll he had obtained from Shino back then. Obviously, Hyuga Kuroto made many improvements in this scroll, as per his understanding and research of the Chimera Jutsu. So when Orochimaru read it, he became quite interested and paid more attention. After a while of silence, he folded back the scroll and nodded. Well, it's genuine, in fact. It's quite more advanced than the one I have. After getting the affirmative reply from Orochimaru, Shimura Danzo's excitement increased. He ignored the majesty that an elder of Konoha should have, and picked up the Chimera Bud as if it is a priceless treasure. Fujin, who had his Byakugan activated the entire time, looked at Shimura Danzo. There was something he was curious about, and he wanted to verify it. In his Byakugan vision, he was able to clearly see that there are two chakra sources inside Danzo's body that are constantly fighting for domination. Expected, thought Fujin as he looked at the two different types of chakra signatures in Danzo's body. Danzo's current body is half fire and half ice, and both fire and ice have reached a weak balance, which makes him very lucky to survive. Fujin had known about Danzo's Sharingan and Hashirama cells transplantation for quite a few years now. At that time, Kuroto hadn't researched Hashirama cells and Sharingan enough, so he wasn't aware that taming Hashirama cells and Sharingan is not as easy as it seems, and it takes years to perfectly tame them unless transplantation is at the genetic level, which is the case in Shursui. Shimura Danzo's case is obviously very different from Shursui's. His transplantation is not genetic, and because he is not an Uchiha, so even though he may have managed to take control of Hashirama cells, the Yin chakra of Uchiha and the Yang chakra of Senju are not yet combined into one and are raging for dominance. If he were to face a dangerous battle, and if either side is overdrawn, then this weak balance will be disrupted, and his own body will be swallowed by the other side. Thinking of this, Fujin decided to remind Shimura Danzo, "Do not underestimate Chimera Jutsu Shimura-san. Its ability to swallow flesh and blood is beyond imagination." Amatsukami has conducted its own research on this forbidden jutsu, and we have determined that it is very difficult to control, and the survival/success rate is very low. If you wish to become a perfect shinobi similar to Hiriko, then you must be fully prepared when you use it. Shimura Danzo did not expect Fujin to give him such a warning when he clearly didn't have to, and he looked at Fujin in a completely new light. Orochimaru also squinted and cast his gaze on Fujin, then thought, Amatsukami is being such kind towards Danzo. Do they really want Danzo to take the position of Hokage? What Fujin had said is indeed the truth, of course. It is not that he is being kind towards Danzo or cares about him. It's just that Danzo is a test subject, and if he really wants to use all of Danzo's worth, then he has to give Danzo this warning. After all, Fujin wouldn't want to see the scene where Danzo just transplanted the Chimera bud and died inexplicably, right? But what Fujin didn't expect was that Danzo actually took his warning to heart. He waved his hand and said with a warm smile, "It's merely a Chimera bud. Worry not, Fujindano. I will make them surrender." Fujin was stunned by the respectful tone of Danzo. What suddenly happened to him? Why is he being so respectful towards this one? While Fujin was still recovering from the shock, Danzo turned towards the Root Umbu standing on the side and said to him, "Go and prepare the sum." The Root Umbu hurriedly nodded and quickly left the room. After about 2 minutes, he appeared back in the room with 3 bags and walked toward Fujin. When 2 steps away, he opened the 3 bags to show that the bags were indeed filled with Ryo bills. At this time, Danzo said, "This is 170 million Ryo, the price of the scroll of the Chimera Jutsu. I have also written down the favor of Fujindano and Amatsukami, is will certainly repay the favor." After sealing the 3 bags containing 170 million Ryo, inside a storage scroll, Fujin soon left the Root base. Fujin did not intend to stay at the new secret base of Root for very long, nor does he intend to immediately help Danzo for his purpose, as that would make others suspicious of Amatsukami's true purpose. The geezer thinks that Amatsukami just sold it to him. Let him think this. All the pieces will be laid out slowly and steadily. Not long after he had reached a few miles away from the Root base, Fujin suddenly stopped, turned around, and said to seemingly no one, "This one is wondering as to how long are you going to follow." As soon as Fujin's words fell, a figure walked out from behind a tree not far away, and said with a sly tone, as one would expect from a member of Amatsukami, very sharp. Fujin knew that nothing Orochimaru does would be good, but he has to play his character, so he asked, "Oroki-san, is there something you need from this one?" Orochimaru leaned against the tree, and after folding his arms over his chest, he asked, "I am just curious is all. Why does Amatsukami choose Shimura Danzo? I don't think it's just about him becoming the Hokage. That's obviously a ruse, isn't it? So I want to know what you people want to use him for." Fujin was surprised by Orochimaru's question and said with a smile, "And hear this one thought that Oroki-san doesn't care about Konoha anymore." Orochimaru said with a smile, "As I mentioned earlier, it's a little curiosity." "Oh, is that so? Since Oroki-san is so interested, then this one will obviously satiate his curiosity." After a pause, Fujin said again, "But it won't be so easy. If Oroki-san can win against this one in a fight, then this one will answer all of Oroki-san's questions." To be honest, Hyuga Kuroto really wants to use this Fujin clone to fight against a master like Orochimaru in order to test the true limits of the strength of this clone in actual combat. After all, no matter how good Kazekage Puppet is until his clone body is completed, and he gets used to it, the strength he can display in a battle is quite limited. So even Kuroto does not know how strong Fujin clone is actually. As Fujin said so, iron sand started to appear out of the cuff of his sleeve. Seeing that Fujin had plans to do something, Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. He is indeed curious about why did Amatsukami suddenly come to Danzo, and why would an organization such as Amatsukami support Shimura Danzo's ambition of becoming the Hokage, but when he thinks that there are more important things has to take care of, so he immediately shook his head and said, "Forget it. It is just a trivial curiosity. I have no intention to be hostile to Amatsukami." Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Orochimaru instantly disappeared from his position with a body flicker. Fujin, who was preparing for a fight, squinted a few times because he was taken aback by the sudden action of Orochimaru and muttered with a suspicious tone, "Huh, Orochi-san withdrew so easily?" Orochimaru has never been a guy who can be easily subdued. It wouldn't be wrong to say that he is one of the unruliest guys out there, and his curiosity is simply insatiable. So Fujin was quite certain that Orochimaru would agree to a fight just for the sake of his curiosity. But this time he withdrew so quickly, and without even putting any resistance. So Fujin felt that there is really something important Orochimaru is focusing his attention on. Any other option doesn't make sense. So, no longer caring about Orochimaru, Fujin soon left the forest. The evening of the next day, after performing his mission for today, Kuroto was sitting in his study, reading the scroll of Scorch Release. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly there was a rapid knock on the main door. Kuroto quirked his eyebrow again. Lately, a lot of people have started to visit him, and he was wondering who is it this time. After folding back the scroll and putting it in his pocket, Kuroto got up and walked out of his room to open the door. Opening the door, Kuroto found that the one visiting him this time is none other than the little Miko, wearing a traditional red hakama, a white kosode, along with a red ribbon that ties her light blonde hair that falls down to her waist. But for some reason, Cheyenne was looking a little upset while Teruho, Cheyenne's guard, was standing behind her with a smile. "Oh, Cheyenne-chan, what happened? Why do you look upset?" asked Kuroto after crouching down to Cheyenne's level. Cheyenne said quickly, "Kuroto and I have a secret I must tell you." "Oh, a secret, is it?" Kuroto quirked his eyebrow, then led Cheyenne and Teruho inside his house. During this period of time, Cheyenne has been living in Yui's house because Kuroto is too busy to be able to take care of her. Fortunately enough, Hyuga Yui's parents like Cheyenne very much and treat her as their own daughter. Sandame and Hyuga Patriarch also gave Cheyenne a very high-level treatment, considering her identity as the next generation of Miko of the Land of Demons. The Land of Demons may have fallen and become a country where criminals from all places gather, but it doesn't change Cheyenne's identity as the next Miko. Therefore, her life in Konoha has always been like that of a princess. In fact, people even refer to her as Cheyenneheim. After coming to Kuroto's study, Cheyenne looked around several times with a cautious look, and after repeatedly confirming that no one was around, she came closer to Kuroto and whispered in his ear, "Kuroto and I foresaw a death prophecy." Kuroto, who was sitting casually and waiting to listen to Cheyenne's little secret, suddenly changed his expression as soon as he heard Cheyenne's words and asked, "Whose death did you foresee?" Cheyenne immediately said, "It's the Oba-san who sells takoyaki." Teruho, sitting on the side, quickly explained, "Kuroto-sama. She is the owner of Tanakawa Takoyaki, located near the Konoha Hot Spring." A civilian? After thinking so, Kuroto asked Cheyenne, "How did the Oba-san die in the prophecy?" Cheyenne entered a deep concentration mode, with a small bulge in her mouth and her finger constantly tapping over her cheek, which Kuroto found kind of cute. After a while, Cheyenne said, "She seems to have been buried by the roof. No, not right. She seems to have been smashed by the big wooden door of the shop. No, or maybe, whatever. The picture isn't very clear as there seems to be some kind of chaos. I can't remember how exactly did the Oba-san die." Kuroto pat her head and urged, "Try to remember, Cheyenne-chan. What else did you foresee in the prophecy?" Cheyenne held her chin and tried remembering other details, then said, "She died at night, and there seems to be something huge in the sky. Moreover, there was also fire lit over the village." Kuroto said again, "Something huge and fire, is it? And anything else, any other details that you noticed?" "Right, Ichiraku ramen shop was also destroyed in the prophecy." Speaking until here, Cheyenne suddenly folded her hand over her chest and muttered to herself, "Well, I still have a coupon that I haven't used yet. I must use it before it is destroyed." "Ichiraku ramen shop is also destroyed?" muttered Kuroto, then thought, "Ichiraku ramen is located at the center area of the village. If even Ichiraku ramen is destroyed, it means that the attack overs almost the entire village. All right, now tell me, did you tell anyone else about this prophecy?" asked Kuroto. Cheyenne said, "Yune hasn't been home for the past few days, so I never had the chance to tell her. As for Fumeoba-san and Fumihiro Aji-san, Hyuga Yui's mother and father respectively, I did not tell them because Teruho told me not to." Teruho immediately said, "Kuroto-sama, Cheyenne-sama has not told anyone about the death prophecy except for you and me, as per your instructions." As the guard of Cheyenne, Teruho has been specifically instructed by Kuroto to make sure that if Cheyenne were to ever foresee a death, she does not tell anyone. Listening to Teruho's words, Kuroto nodded. "Very good. Make sure to not tell anyone about it. This is for the safety of both Cheyenne and those around her, because once this ability is exposed, the people around her will subconsciously stay far away from her, which is not good for her. As for the others, knowing when and how one will die is not a good thing. Specifically, it cannot be changed." Just because Uzumaki Naruto can change the destiny of his death, does not mean everyone can change the destiny of his death. Cheyenne asked in a low voice, "But Kuroto and I, shouldn't we inform Hokage-sama? In the prophecy, I foresee many people getting injured too." Kuroto pat Cheyenne's head and said, "I will take care of notifying Hokage-sama. You don't have to worry about it." Kuroto is very clear that Sandaime-sama has been preparing the trap for Akatsuki for a very long time, so he must be prepared for the attack on the village. Therefore, even if Sandaime is informed about the content of the prophecy, it is unlikely that it would reduce the village's losses. After instructing Cheyenne, Kuroto asked Teruho, "Have you participated in the evacuation drills organed by the village?" Teruho nodded. "Yes, Kuroto-sama." Kuroto nodded and said in a low voice, "If something happens in the village, your only task is to give priority to the safety of Cheyenne. Do not care about others, just make sure that Cheyenne is safe, understand?" "I understand, Kuroto-sama." Teruho nodded with a solemn expression. After the matter of death, prophecy was finished, Kuroto asked Cheyenne about her progress in training. Since Yui is extremely busy, so Cheyenne's training is also affected. But there's not too much problem, because Cheyenne is going to be joining the academy soon enough. A while later, Cheyenne and Teruho left Kuroto's house, and now him alone in the room, Kuroto muttered, "What could be that something huge in the sky?" Kuroto probably knew the answer to his own question and thought, "I suppose I should go and see Pakura. Although chances are low given his wickedness, perhaps I can get a better understanding of Sandaime-sama's plan, and also use this opportunity to personally experience Scorch release from her."